They've given humanity the illusion that they are having a revolution, the illusion that they have a camp outside the matrix, fighting against the matrix. Now, before I spoke, I should have asked more questions. I want to thank the community, my platform and the community, for reaching out to me, saying, Mac, what is going on in Gabon is not what you think. Guys, this is not a revolution. It's a family affair. You know, I made a video about the Gabon coup. I talked about the fact that we might be dealing with, what we're dealing with is a revolution. And the revolution is based on the fact that you see people in the streets celebrating. You see people in the streets jubilating. This is what the people of Niger, for example, in the coup that happened recently, were crying for. This is what the people of Gabon are crying for when they're celebrating, throwing stadium parties and so on and so forth. And you cannot call that a coup if the will of the people is being exercised. What I've now come to realize, and the reason why I'm making this video, I'm going to walk back the idea that this is a revolution. It's not a revolution. It is a coup, but it's not a coup by the people we think it's a coup by. Stay tuned to this. Focus on what I am going to say, because this might be one of the more important videos I've put out in recent times, because what this pertains to not only applies to Africans, Alkebolanians, but to all people in terms of understanding that what you see is not always what is. The coup that happened in Gabon follows a number of coups. Now, there have been more coups in Africa in recent years than there have been in the last decade. Burkina Faso had 2 coups last year. We're talking about Mali, Guinea, Burkina Faso, Niger, now Gabon. I believe that what we had was a wave of change sweeping Africa, and I got caught up in the excitement of it. But I accepted things that I probably should have questioned if I just looked at what the facts were of the scenario. Ali Bongo, who got deposed, had just won an election for a 3rd term against an opponent called Albert Odo Osa. And the people of Gabon said, no, false, fraud, this is not real. And they were on the verge of exploding with frustration and anger because they've been demanding change and they were hopeful that this was the change that they were seeking. This is very similar to what happened in Nigeria with Peter Obi, who a lot of Nigerians wanted to win that election, but obviously Tinubu won and there's been a dispute and so on and so forth. There is a lot of similarity in the energy and reaction in Gabon to that situation to what happened in what has happened in Nigeria. So when this happened, there was then a coup very quickly afterwards, and the coup was instigated by a man called General Brice Oligui Nguema. What I then found out was that this man is the cousin of Ali Bongo. He's his relative. I knew this before I made my previous video, but the way that I viewed it was that, listen, you know, that's fine. It's possible that people in the same family have a disagreement on ideology, and that his cousin happens to be someone that sees things differently for Gabon. I looked into a little bit more and I found that, oh, this guy actually had a lot of power in the military in Gabon. And is essentially one of the most powerful people in Gabon, his cousin. This is not a random guy that is staging this coup. This is a guy with real influence, but he's also a direct relative of the Bongo dynasty. So, by definition, the Bongo dynasty that I talked about of lasting 55 years is still ongoing, because this man is part of the family. You see, I'm going to take you back to something in order to explain what I'm going to say about Gabon. So you've got to roll with me. Go and get your tea, get your popcorn, and sit down, tuck yourselves in. We're going to go real intricate here, okay? In 1999, there was a movie. The Mac was I was in a mall buying video games. I was trying to get a video game. I cannot remember what the game was. Now, when I was in the game store, there were people just talking about this film. I was like, what is this film? The Matrix. The Matrix. Have you seen this movie, The Matrix? I'm like, The Matrix? What is this? I said, oh, wait a minute. I've seen a trailer for this where Morpheus jumped off a rooftop and then he landed on another roof, and the movie, and then there's one thing where Keanu Reeves is like doing something and then there's bullets and everything. I was like, man, this film looks kind of crazy. I might want to check it out. But my mindset was fully focused on The Phantom Menace, which was coming out in May 1999. I didn't care about anything else. I was focused on episode 1 because this was before I knew what was going to happen in Star Wars. Everybody talked about Matrix. So I didn't have anything to do that day. I go down to the cinema, which was in the mall, try to get a ticket. The woman said, hey, Mech, you know what? this movie has already started. It's 15 minutes in. You might want to come again tomorrow because it's the last show. I said, listen, just give me the ticket. Give me the ticket. She was like, are you sure? I was like, listen, give me the ticket. 15 minutes in, I don't care. I disrespected the film because I would never go into a movie that I respect 15 minutes after it started. So I was like, whatever, just give me the ticket. I got that ticket, rolled into the cinema. Guys, this movie blew my brain off. I got in when Neo was like running around in the office and then he was like walking on the side of the building and he didn't want to make the jump. So I'd missed a ton of the movie. But I was just like, whatever. The first crazy thing I saw is when the agents, Neo's mouth was getting closed up and they put that thing in his stomach and then from that point I was hooked. I watched that movie. I came back the next day to watch the movie. I watched the movie 5 more times, 6 times total. Cinema watches. We know about the mother of the Matrix. Who really made the Matrix? That's a conversation for another day because that conversation is very interesting when we talk about, Black creativity and artistry and science fiction and so forth. That's a different conversation. The Matrix had a really big impact on me. And therefore, I was anticipating Matrix Reloaded and Revolutions when they got announced. You are wondering, why the hell are we talking about the Matrix? I thought I came here to talk about Gabon and the coup and Guys, hold up. Now, Matrix Reloaded had a scene. Late in the movie, Neo goes into this place with the key master and Neo meets a man called the architect. The architect tells Neo that he's not the first one. There have been many iterations of the one before him. Now, remember that the Matrix is a construct created by the machines to make humanity feel that they are in a real living space. But it's designed to keep humanity asleep in order for the machines to siphon energy off them to power the machine. And the way that you keep them locked into the Matrix is to provide stimuli that prevents them from even wanting to break free. And when anybody exhibits traits that show that they are beginning to become aware that they're in the Matrix, the agents come in, Smith, whatever, cuts them out, removes them, flushes them, okay? That was in part 1. So in the second movie, I'm like, the architect now tells Neo, you're not the first one. There have been many. And there have also been many iterations of the Matrix. And this laid the foundation for Revolutions, where Revolutions comes out and Neo has a scenario when he's in the real world and he loses his eyes and then he stops a sentinel that's coming at him in the tunnels. And the sentinel gets destroyed. And when I saw that, this is what the mech thought was going to happen in any subsequent, even to the end of the Matrix Reloaded or in a subsequent sequel, which never happened. But this is what I believed. I said, if this guy has Matrix powers in the real world where he can stop a sentinel, and the architect told us that the Matrix has created multiple iterations of the Matrix because it keeps trying to perfect it. Because when the one is born and the humanity gets too aware, they reset the Matrix and use all the information they've learned from the previous iterations to improve the program, to keep humanity locked in deeper. I said, Zion is in the Matrix. Zion isn't real. It's a Matrix in the Matrix. And we're not sure how many layers deep the Matrix actually is. They've given humanity the illusion that they are having a revolution, the illusion that they have a camp outside the Matrix fighting against the Matrix, but they're really in the Matrix. But because they believe they're fighting the Matrix and they're outside it, they don't have the incentive to fight to get beyond that layer. Guys, rewind this section if you didn't understand. Those who are with me, let's keep going. So let's now apply this to Gabon. Remember that I said when the Niger thing happened and we had this wave of coups, I said, France are in real trouble. And there is no way that France is going to allow this to take place. France, England, America, all these countries, Germany, everybody, they are not taking this lying down. They're not just going to sit there and allow the countries that they've been using to power their economies and power their empires for centuries to one after another just walk away. That ain't happening. Now, the reaction that they were going to have, I wasn't sure what the strategy would be in order to get things back to the status quo, because obviously you're fighting against social media, these platforms, all of these things that are telling people the truth. So it's very difficult to just use a puppet leader to bamboozle a people, because people are calling out the leaders now directly. So they do not have the mandate of their people. That old school thing doesn't work anymore by virtue of the technology that these these societies have actually provided to us, such as this video you're watching right now. Think about this, guys. Brice Oligui Nguema is the cousin of Ali Bongo. France has a fantastic relationship with Ali Bongo, who is extremely pro-France. Ali Bongo's wife is a woman called Sylvia Valentin or something, who is the daughter of a guy called Edouard Valentin, who was a insurance and real estate magnate from France. Aristocracy, basically, financial aristocracy. The guy, her father set up like an insurance company in France in like the 70s. In Gabon in the 70s, and has been operating there since then. This guy set up an insurance company like 10 years after Gabon got independence. So that, he's been intertwined with Gabonese finance and stuff from the beginning of Gabon as a country, quote unquote independent country. That's who his wife is. And then he has a fantastic relationship with France. Do you know what this is like? And just for people to understand the concept here, this is like the first lady of Nigeria being from Basingstoke, being a white woman from Reading in England and is white. Like, that is literally what it is. Now, that for me is already ironic and interesting, let alone the fact that these guys have reigned since then, whatever she got in like the 80s to now 55 years of the family, but decades of this particular guy. So when you really understand that, you already start thinking that, wait a minute, this actually, there are too many connections here, too many. Then you analyze this a little deeper and you say, what is France actually afraid of? They're afraid of what happened in Niger, Burkina Faso, Guinea, and Mali happening in their most important gold mine, Gabon. They're worried about this. This is one of their most important gold mines. And they're about to lose these guys. What do? You know that they just had an election and the people are angry that your man, Ali Bongo, has won again. And you check the temperature and you look at what happened in these other African countries when the same thing occurred. They had a coup immediately. And they put in somebody that was ferociously anti-France. Captain Traoré, salute. You do not want that to happen in Gabon. So if you're intelligent, you preempt the coup by staging a coup. When you do that, you have to guarantee that the man that you're putting in is going to do your bidding. You have to guarantee that you are going to maintain continuity with your relationships in that country, but present the facade to the people that they are getting liberated. This is analogous to the narrative that I thought was going to happen in The Matrix, where I believe that Zion was part of The Matrix, and the illusion of revolution was designed by The Matrix so that humanity wouldn't fight back and they could continue to siphon off them. In order for you to keep siphoning off Gabon, you needed to give the people of Gabon the illusion that they were having a revolution so that they would stop there and they wouldn't push any further because they think that they are getting free of the person that had their foot on their neck. So France had to stage this quickly, fast, to stop any potential of somebody else coming in that they do not control, that has no allegiance to the Bongo dynasty, that has no allegiance to France, that has no allegiance to the West, that has no allegiance to the G7. You don't want another Captain Traoré. That's what they're afraid of, another Captain Traoré. Because Captain Traoré is scaring everybody. That is literally the kind of president that nobody wants in the West for Africa. He is the epitome of what nobody wants. You know what I'm saying? So they're looking at him and saying that we must make sure that no other African country gets a guy like that in charge because he represents actual freedom for Africa. Like actual freedom. So I looked at this and I said, this is what's going on. And there were some telltale signs for me that proved it to me. I said, have you noticed that this Oligui Nguema guy has come in and there is no talk from the regime of separating from France? There is no anti-French rhetoric. There is no anti-imperialist rhetoric. There is no anti-colonialist rhetoric. There is no conversation said or mandate of we are now going to start producing goods in-house. We are now going to change import-export policies. The kinds of things that Captain Traoré was saying as soon as he got in. The kinds of things the Mali government, the new Mali guys and the new Niger guys were saying as soon as they got in. These guys were kicking out the French military from their country, kicking out the embassies, doing all of that. None of that is happening in Gabon. None of it. I'm going to tell you something, guys. Based on the history of France in Gabon, the acid test for anybody who claims to be giving Gabon liberation is their behavior with France. That's the acid test. What they say and the energy they put towards French relations will tell you exactly where they stand. We did not hear anything like that from him. To this point, this has been a very easy, smooth coup, no real pushback. Where are the calls for sanctions against Gabon like they sanctioned Niger? Why aren't they calling for the AU or other African countries to cut Gabon off? I started realizing this when I started thinking about it. I'm like, look at the energy that was put against Niger just a few weeks ago, where they are still to this day trying to squeeze the hell out of Niger. Look what they did to Burkina Faso, cutting off aid, cutting off all of these things to Burkina Faso. Not that they care about that. Look what they did to Mali, Guinea, but Gabon, there has been no conversation about cutting nothing. Guys now really want to just talk. Guys, we got hoodwinked, guys. And what is actually scary about this hoodwink and why the Matrix is apt is that platforms like mine and other commentators were used inadvertently to promote the okie doke. I assisted in the okie doke, and hundreds of other content creators and people who are commentators in the free media, not free media, just people who are just, who have platforms, contributed to the okie doke. We helped it. That's why I had to make this video to correct the ship, to let you know, as far as I'm concerned, this is a coup, but it's a coup by France. It's a French coup. That's what it is. Let me take some tea. Hold on. It's a French coup. Coup français. Coup français. That's what it is. I didn't realize it was in my face. Guys, let's stop celebrating. This is business as usual. These guys had to do what they had to do because they could see what was happening in the other West African countries. So Gabon are due another one, basically, because nothing's changing. This is, like I said, the acid test, you will be able to tell in the next few months if this man, Ngueme, brings out his manifesto of what his government is going to do. And his manifesto doesn't include the categorical disconnection of deals with France that are unfavorable to Gabon, the categorical implementation of policies that allow Gabon to utilize their ridiculous amounts of natural resources to build and do things in-house, the idea that Gabon is going to have national health care, national social security, providing jobs to everybody who is of working age at a livable wage, which they can easily afford. They should be able to just pay everybody every month just to survive with the amount of resources they have because they only have 2.4 million people. If you are not implementing policies like that, this ain't a real revolution. Guys, don't worry. I'm working with guys. We are going to provide a manifesto for Gabon. We will put it on the channel. I'm working with a couple of guys. We are going to provide free of charge. We're going to put on the channel a categorical manifesto for Gabon that they can use, that they can say that, listen, we're going to look into your books, the freely available data that's available of what Gabon makes, the GDP, the cost of living, all of that stuff. We're going to look at all of that stuff. We're going to put together just a short little manifesto of very actionable things that can turn the Gabonese people all into rich, well-fed, healthy, prosperous people. That can turn the Gabonese people into the richest Africans in Africa, per capita, which is what they should be with the amount of money that they have and the population that they have. Per capita, these people should be the richest Africans in the continent. And we're going to tell you how that's going to be done. Now, if we are going to be able to put that manifesto together just for free, we're going to do it. Anybody who says that they're doing a revolution for Gabon should be able to do the same thing. And I think it's really great that I've had the opportunity to correct myself, because a lot of times you're able to put things out there and you don't even have the opportunity to correct yourselves. And I think this is a learning exercise for us as people from Al-Cable and from Africa. This is how we get screwed over, That's what's happening to Gabon. All those celebrations that you're seeing there and the jubilation, they don't know. If I could be fooled, and so many of us could be fooled, what hope do guys who haven't had the opportunity of exposure that we've had to geopolitics and society and films and media and so forth have in understanding what is going on? They don't stand a chance. They don't stand a chance, guys. This is not the sort of thing that only happens there. It happens all over the world. But looking at Africans, looking at what has happened and how quickly we all jumped on the bandwagon, when the reality is that this is not what it was. Ali Bongo was one of the guys, along with the Ivory Coast president, who was pushing for sanctioning Niger. That's the kind of president he is. This is not a pro-African guy. And the question that the Gabonese people have to ask is that the kind of president you want? Is that what you want? For Africa as well, for the sake of Africa, I don't want that, because I do not want a slew of presidents that can tell the leaders in Africa to go and attack another African country, aka what has happened with Niger and what Ali Bongo was supporting. That's not what I want to be the case. I want it to be the case where France and England and America know that there is no African country you're going to just tell to go and attack another African country. Thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe. Cheers.